Cloud. Welcome everybody to Fit for Life week 4, muscular strength and endurance. But before we get into that, for everybody who's here live, glad to have you here. For everybody here on the replay, glad to have you here too. And be sure and let me know what you think in the comments. And so I'll know that you were there. Even if you just give it a reaction, that's fine. Okay. Yeah, so Deb is at Dartmouth today.
Okay.
Marty had family company drop in last minute, like 15 minutes before I went live. I got her message. And not sure about Becky and Tori, where they're at. Oh, and Leslie Bell can't be here. We met this morning. She's at a doctor's appointment. So, actually, numerous doctor's appointments. So, she can't be here today. But for everybody that's here, I'm so glad to have you here. I am really excited for today. This is my wheelhouse, and I hope you guys are psyched too. Who's ready?
I am. I hope anyway.
I got all my stuff out. Can you see it behind me? My chair, my weights, my mat,
Mhm.
bands. I have 2 sets of bands all ready to fly. Can't wait to get into this. So I don't want to spend too much time on housekeeping, but does anybody have any housekeeping before we get right into the meat of stuff?
I
No?
just have
Okay.
one question, Fran.
Sure.
Are we supposed to be taking our stats every week?
No, not necessary unless you want to, Terry. I mean, definitely not necessary. I want to get a baseline in the beginning to find out where's everybody at,
Okay,
and then
thanks.
get another measurement at the end, and then you can compare.
All right, thank
Yeah.
you.
So there's no pressure on how well you do at any really particular time, especially in the beginning, right? Like I said, we're just gathering data. And then at the end, we get more data to see how far you've grown or shrunk or whatever your goals were.
Mhm.
Whoop, here we go. There's Becky. There. Beautiful. Okay. So we'll let Becky connect here. And as soon as she does, so every session I'd like to revisit the mission. I think it's so important because just like I asked you to get in touch with your why, this is my why. Okay, this is why I'm doing this. So my goal is to provide a holistic education program that will inspire you, feed your motivation, right? Because we know motivation comes from within. And then, of course, give you the skills so that you can maximize your aging potential while we minimize your risk for frailty leading to dependence, right? As you age. We all want to keep our independence. We love our freedoms, don't we? And we want to maintain them. We have to take good care so that we can. So without further ado, as a perfect segue into muscle strength and endurance, I'm going to go ahead and mute everybody, and then I'm going to start sharing my screen. Welcome on, Becky. Nice to have you. And welcome back from your vacation. Here we go, muting now. There we go. All right. Okay. Hopefully everybody can see that. Can you see that? My screen? Everybody seeing it? Okay, good, perfect. All righty. So muscular strength and endurance. So we all want it. We all want what it can give us, but are we doing it? Oh, sorry, my slides don't want to work here. Hang on a second. Let me switch to slide. Oh, there we go. Okay, it's just slow. All right. So here's Maxine, the famous Hallmark cartoon character. And it's true, right? We all want the strength and the muscle and the energy and the power and the speed and the ability to get through our day. But we think that that's just going to happen magically even if we do like Maxine, diddly squat, right? But it doesn't. If you don't use it, you do lose it. And then the guy on the right, the doctor on the right, the only diet shake I recommend is the shake your booty makes when you exercise. I thought that was cute. I used to use that in cardiac rehab. Kind of fun. So again, we want all these things. So these are some of the benefits, right, of muscular strength and endurance training. First of all, significant improvements in muscle mass and muscle quality. Also, by the way, hones in your nervous system. So what about muscle mass? I mean, we know it gives us energy. We know from last week's lecture, right, that your energy is produced in every single individual muscle cell, right, deep within the muscle cell in what is called the mitochondria. That would be like the powerhouse. So you know the powerhouse on Powerhouse Road up there in Searstown? Well, inside every single muscle cell is one of those powerhouses, and that generates energy. And the more muscle cells you have, the more energy you can generate. That translates not only to more strength and power, but to better endurance. It also translates into you can eat more because you're burning more calories because you have more mass, and it takes more energy to sustain it, not to mention move it, just to sustain it. So the more muscle you are, the higher your metabolic rate. Okay, we're going to get into that. So this from Harvard Health, and actually I've used this so many times. The average person, after about the age of 30, they say 25, 30, 35. So somewhere there, we lose about 0.5% of our muscle mass every year. That is if we're not exercising. So if you're not doing anything to preserve it, if you're not doing any strength training, if you're not stressing the musculoskeletal system a little bit beyond normal, that means you're not getting any training effect, right? We're all familiar. You have to overload the system in order to get stronger, right? Just like you have to overload the cardiovascular system in order to build your endurance, right? You start walking quarter mile, and then you maybe half, and then maybe, right? Everybody gets that, right? Can I see a nod? Okay, thank you, Terry. Okay. So if you lose about 0.5% of your muscle mass every year after about the age of 30, that's 10%, right? In a very short amount of time. That adds up very quick. So over the course of just a couple decades, you could lose up to 10 pounds of muscle or 15 pounds of muscle. Calculate your weight, 10% of it. That's a lot of muscle. So that's why our caloric needs begin dropping as we get older. That's why the clothes you wore when you were 30, even if you weigh the same, still don't fit you when you're 50 or 60, or perhaps even 40. That's because your composition has changed. Composition is just your ratio of your lean body mass to your fat mass. So lean body mass is everything that isn't fat. How's that? So because that composition's changed, and because you've just naturally lost this muscle due to aging, if you haven't been strength training, that's a caveat, if you haven't been strength training does ameliorate some of that loss, but not necessarily all of it. And then if we have illness, or we have injury, or periods of infirmary, guess what? There goes the muscle. So anything that causes wasting, okay, will cause, that's what wasting is. It's sarcopenia. It's the reduction of lean muscle mass. So super important. So in 10 years, you could say you could lose 5 pounds of muscle just because of aging if you don't do anything to ameliorate it. And that's, like I said, if you don't get sick or injured or whatever. Now, here's the other thing. We have different types of muscle fibers. We have what we call slow twitch, which are your endurance fibers, and then we have fast twitch. Your fast twitch are your power and speed, okay? Anybody see that video of the grandma who's putting she's got her grandchild in the stroller, and she's lugging her groceries out to the car, and she lets go of the stroller to take care of the groceries in the cart, and the stroller starts rolling away from the car, and it's rolling through the parking lot, and it's a busy parking lot, and there are cars coming and going, and her grandchild's about to get hit, and the woman can't move fast enough to catch that stroller. I mean, how awful would that be? It's just a really great example of when we need to move quick. Another great example is if you slip on the ice, or if you trip on a stair, and you've got to catch yourself. That's fast twitch fibers. Everything firing super fast in order to help you stay upright. Okay, so all these things happen when we lose muscle mass. Now, there are also changes to the nervous system. Your nervous system is there partly to innervate your muscle, to carry signals from your brain to your tissue, to your organs, to your muscles, whatever, so that you can move, okay? So because we're talking muscle, we'll just leave it at that. Just so that you can mobilize, just so you can move, just so I can talk or hold this paper, right? That's because of my nervous system. When you lose muscle, your nervous system downregulates because there's less muscle mass for it to innervate. So guess what? You get neural, muscular, basically fatigue or amnesia. True thing. It's a true thing. So fast twitch fibers are lost at a faster rate as we age. Again, that's if we don't train them. And they're super important because sometimes you have to move quick. So the crux of the matter here and why this is so important to us is this, and this is a quote right from the Harvard Health EDU. Weak muscles hasten the loss of independence, putting everyday activities slowly out of reach. Walking, shopping, cleaning, even dressing, all the things that we call activities of daily living, the things that you need to do in order to remain independent. Not the things you like to do or love to do or want to do, the things you need to do in order to remain independent. So they hinder our ability to cope and recover with illness, from illness or injury rather, sorry. And also balance is harder, not only when you're moving, but even just when you're standing still. And that's why 1 out of 3 of us over the age of 65 will fall this year, because our balance is downregulated, our nervous system is downregulated, and those things all happen because of our loss of muscle, called sarcopenia. Sarcopenia. So disability is 1.5 to 4 times, so 1.5 to quadruple in older people with sarcopenia than in those with normal muscle mass. So if you exercise regularly, can maintain as much muscle as you can, you're really going to increase your odds of maintaining your independence. I hope that's super clear. I hope that brings everything full circle. If you don't remember anything else from this, just remember that. This is your independence. So strength and power training can help, any kind of training. People with stronger muscles are less apt to fall, and they're less apt to get seriously injured if you do happen to take a fall. And here's why. Strong muscles are better shock absorbers. Remember when I talked about tone, the difference between tone and definition in the first or second webinar? Well, this is what we're talking about. This is tone. The ability of that tissue to be innervated and to respond to your nervous system's commands. You're a better shock absorber. Perfect example. One of my clients who's been training with me for a long time, she is 76 years old now, and she's walking up Cooper Hill because she walks up Cooper Hill. She likes the challenge of it. And there was some construction going on at the foot of Cooper Hill. And she's, gawking at the construction and whatever, and she trips on a stone, full out face plant on the asphalt, on the cement, going up Cooper Hill, okay? She's moving. She's full out flying face plant. Guess what? She didn't get hurt. Nothing broken. A little road rash was it. She got up, dusted herself off, and kept going. That's what toned muscles can do for you. They can save you. They provide you literally a safety net. Okay, so not only the muscles deteriorate from lack of use, but so does the nervous system. Some more benefits. I've got them highlighted here, but this is kind of cool. The second paragraph, weight training expert and researcher Dr. Wayne Westcott, South Shore YMCA. I had the pleasure of listening to Dr. Westcott down there in Quincy, which is where I sat for my personal trainer exam, actually, way back in the day. And Dr. Westcott at the time was talking about his land-breaking research in a nursing home with nonagenarians, so people 89 to 90, and the incredible strength gains that they experienced training 3 days a week. Guess what, guys? We never lose our capacity to build muscle. We take longer to recover, yes, but we maintain our capacity to become or to stay strong or become strong or stronger. Just know that. So your age has nothing to do with it. Your conditioning has everything to do with it. Conditioning and, of course, disease process and or injury. They'll set you back, but it's not a knockout. It doesn't put you out of the game, okay? You still have the ability. By the way, in Dr. Westcott's study, some of the people who were wheelchair bound were able to get out of their wheelchairs, and some people went home out of a nursing home as a result of his study. So that's the kind of thing you can do. You see, I mean, just not to mention the increases in bone density, the muscle mass, the nervous system, the bone density, all of it. It's all so good for you. So incredibly good for you. So we need a good circulatory system, right? To be able to deliver the oxygen and the nutrients and the fluids and everything else that we need for training. And then we need a strong musculoskeletal system. And these two things together are going to get us through life so that hopefully we're independent right up until we take our last breath. So here are a few other studies. Blood pressure. In one study, University of Maryland, for 6 months, 3 days of training per week significantly decreased blood pressure in men and women of an average age of 68, increases insulin sensitivity. So I had people in cardiac rehab that actually got off their metformin or their glucophage. True story. We saw people those things just became crumpled up boxes in the bottom of their backpack or pocketbook, which was amazing to see and witness. Bone mineral density in one study increased 8.3% in the lumbar spine, and in another one, people with osteoporosis, so not just osteopenia, but osteoporotic men and women with 5 months of training, bone mineral density increased by 3.7%, and 8% in the distal radius, so that would be here. So if you fall, you're not going to break your wrist, okay? If you catch yourself. Oh, where is Dr. Westcott's study? Is it on here with the nonagenarians? I don't think it is. I don't have it. Oh, here's the other thing. This is cool too. If you get more muscular, you actually might weigh more. True story. If you're anabolically gifted, and I pray to God you are, you actually could weigh more. Typically, men gain more weight than women do. But here's the thing. So muscle weighs 1.1 grams per cubic centimeter, okay? 1.1 gram per cubic centimeter, where fat weighs 0.9 grams per cubic centimeter. So here's the thing. You might weigh a little bit more, but you take up a lot less space. You shrink. You weigh more and you shrink. Isn't that wonderful? Oh yeah, and at Tufts, in a study of men and women ages 52 to 80, there were increases in resting metabolic rate. You guys all calculated that on that IIFMY or IIFYM website that I gave you in the chat. So they increased their resting metabolic rate 70%. They added only 3 pounds of muscle, but they lost 4 pounds of fat. They increased their overall daily caloric expenditure by 15%. That's significant. So 15%, think of it, out of 2,000 calories. That's 300, what, 400 calories? No. Yeah, no. 300 calories, 300 calories. So there you go. Bought you a bagel. Right there. Oh, and by the way, the American Heart Association amended their guidelines years ago to include resistance training for the prevention and treatment of cardiovascular disease. So the first thing we did was put weights in the cardiac rehab room, right? So reducing your risk of cardiovascular disease. But yet, what do we do, guys? Check this out. This is how we use our time. Actually, you know what? This is an old chart. This is from 2011. How much you want to bet that those blue zones are much bigger now due to our increased media time. So not just TV, but our iPads, our Kindles, our phones, our computers, ruh-roh. It's changed a lot since 2011. So those blue zones, here's where the blue zones aren't a good thing, right? Here's where our blue zones get us into trouble. The blue are the more sedentary activities. And then the others, you can see at the top, they're very limited. Those are your active activities. So it takes us a lot less calories to subsist now than it used to. Here's a great chart. Changes over time. You can see this is World War II to present day. Look at the daily energy expenditure, you guys. That's the green line. And look at the time-wasting technology line. So you can see how daily energy expenditure, right, resting metabolic rate, plus activity thermogenesis, plus postprandial thermogenesis, or after you eat, digestion, that takes energy too. So all these things together. With the advent of all our wonderful things that help us get our work done, but oh my goodness, look what they've done. A 60 to 70% overall reduction in daily energy expenditure. And that's why, this is kind of a funny cartoon, but look at it. It's true, right? The TVs got skinnier, but we didn't. We didn't. We're a lot bigger than we were. I think in the 50s, the average woman was 5'4" and weighed 128, and now the average female, and actually this is old. I haven't seen a recent one, but as of 5 years ago, the average female 5'4" was now 158. Well, because you can see why. Because we're spending a lot more time in sedentary activities, and it takes us a lot less energy just to get through our day, right? And we don't work like we used to. When we were an agrarian or manufacturing society, we were physical. We're not physical anymore. We're in the technological age. All right. So what's it going to take to get us back there? Here it is, guys. Frequency, remember your FIT training part, right? Your frequency, intensity, time, and type. So here's what you want. A frequency of at least 2 days a week. Hit every single muscle group, non-consecutive days. All right, if you're doing a total body workout, hitting all major muscle groups, you need to allow 48 hours in between for muscle building, growth, and repair. So non-consecutive days. We can talk about split training later, but this is just for now. This is base building, okay? So 2 to 3 days a week, 48 hours between sessions, hit every single muscle group. Intensity is going to be low to start because number one, you can't do it. You don't have the capacity to lift a lot of weight. You're not strong enough until we strengthen the tissue you have and perhaps increase the muscle tissue that you have, as well as the effectiveness and the efficiencies of that tissue and the nervous system, okay? We also have to be wary. Your structure, okay, your foundation isn't strong enough for you to be able to do a lot out of the gate. So you're going to have to be really careful. I'm going to put it that way. Careful about what you do to not overdo it. Allow sufficient rest and recovery. And remember, we're going to get into that in the last session. So you want low weight, higher repetitions. We're talking about 15 repetitions. However, you want those reps to fatigue you. What does fatigue mean? Fatigue means you're tired. You maybe have 2 more reps in the bank, but that's it. You're ready for that set to be done. A set, by the way, would be 1 set of 15 repetitions, for those of you who think I'm talking Greek. Okay? So again, the intensity is going to be half of your 1 RM, or perhaps a little bit less. A 1 RM is a 1 rep max. Okay? 1 rep max. Here's a great example. Let's say, move my weights. Let's say I've been sick. I've been sick or I've been injured. And it takes everything I've got to get me up out of this chair without using my hands. It takes everything I've got, every single ounce of strength. Ugh, and then I'm done. That's a 1 rep max. All you can do is 1 repetition and you're done. Okay? That's how hard that is. Right? We're not going to do that, obviously, because we don't want to get injured, right? If you get hurt, well, not going to be able to train. So that's why we need to think about building a base. We can't go from 0 to 60 in 10 seconds. It doesn't happen fast. It's going to take probably 4 to 6 to 8 weeks, depending upon your intensity, depending upon your recovery, depending upon how many days a week you're training. Okay, so you've got to give yourself time. It took us how long to get out of shape? It's going to take a few weeks to get in shape. No big deal. We allow ourselves that grace. Okay? It says here, extremely light to light load for older adults. Just ignore that. That's changed now. All the research, Dr. Westcott's research included, heavier is better. Heavier weights. Like I said, you want a weight or a resistance, even if it's your body weight, that plays you out in about 15 reps. If it doesn't, you need to either lift heavier or get more resistance if you have elastic bands, for example, okay? Or add weight to your body, that kind of thing. You can do that with a backpack or a weight belt or what have you, okay? Or an ankle weight or a wrist weight, right? So there are ways to do it. Again, repetitions are high. They're going to be the 12 to 15 range. Sets, if you're just starting out, you're just going to do 1 set, 15 reps. It's going to take you about 7 minutes to get through an entire strength training program, which we are going to do next. Rest, if you're doing concurrent sets, which means, let's say, for example, I'm doing a set of squats, and I do my 12 reps, I would allow probably a minute's rest. If I'm training at 50% of my 1 RM, I'll allow 30 seconds to 1 minute of rest between my set. If I'm lifting heavier, then I'm going to need more rest because it's going to take me longer to recover, right? All right, so what do? What do you mean by every single major muscle group? I don't know all my muscle groups, and it's okay. Don't worry about it. All you have to know is basic human movements. These are the basic human movements, and these are the things that you want to be able to do just to get through your day, okay? Not just to do the things you want to do, but just to do the things you need to do. You need to be able to squat. You need to be able to push or press. You need to be able to lunge. You need to be able to pull. You need to be able to hip hinge. That's bend over from the hip. You need to be able to carry, as in grocery bags. you need to be able to rotate, as in reaching into your cupboard, and you need to be able to avoid rotation for certain activities, okay? In other words, to stabilize. So, everybody, we're going to go through these movements now. So you're all going to have to stand up. We're just going to use our body weight, and we're going to go through every single one of these movements. So those of you that I can't see your video, I'll just have to assume that, you know, that you're honest here. I'm just going to stop this video share for a second so that I can see all of you bigger, because right now you're just tiny little squares on my huge screen. And I will come back to the share in a moment. All right. So let's talk about these basic movements. I'm going to put my chair on an angle for the squat. All right. Is my lighting good? Can everybody see me really well? I wore a bright shirt today, so hopefully you can see me. I have a bright shirt and bright pants. I pretty much glow in the dark. Are we good? Good. Okay, awesome. Thank you. Okay, so basic squat. Your body weight is a weight, is it not? When you're squatting, aren't you indeed pushing, hinging, and pressing your body weight up against the pull of gravity? Yes, indeed you are. All right, so the squat involves a couple joint movements. Hip hinge, and knee hinge. See that? Hip and knee. In the squat, we want the hip hinge to dominate over the knee hinge. So hip hinge, knee hinge, touch, and up, okay? Now, I squat all the time. So I like to stand about 4 inches ahead of my target, which in this case is my chair, so that when I hip hinge, the trajectory of my buttocks is back and down. Notice what that does to my knee. It stays right over my shoelaces and behind my toes, okay? So I'm shifting my center of gravity backwards, past the axis of my body. That's going to throw you off balance, just so that you know that. So a couple of things you can do. First of all, make sure that your chair is sturdy, and you may want to put it up against a wall so that it can't kick out from under you, okay? Especially if you're not used to doing this, all right? You want to widen your foot position initially. This will make it easier because you're just like a pyramid, guys. The wider your base of support, the more stable you're going to be, okay? Also, the lower the center of gravity, the more stable you're going to be. So you push hip hinge, knee hinge, booty touches down, come back up, okay? Hip hinge, knee hinge, touch down, and up. You're going to do that 15 times. So I would advise you to practice this in front of a mirror. Here's why. When you hip hinge, the trajectory of the torso and the head is going to be slightly forward. See? Watch. Hinge. Look what happened to my back. Okay? My head goes forward to counterbalance me. Okay? So I want to be sure I'm not down here. I don't want to cave into that. I don't want gravity to pull all my weight forward. If I do, I'm just going to end up falling forward. So I have to be able to push my butt back, engage my core, and sit into that squat. So look straight ahead, keep your chin up, your airway open, and that will help you counterbalance. Work your core at the same time. All the muscles in your trunk are extremely active while you're squatting. If you're doing this right, you should feel your weight across the entire tripod of your foot. However, a little bit more predominant in the heel. Okay? So again, all across the tripod of the foot. So feel the bone, the metatarsal under the big toe, under the little toe, and the heel. As you shift your butt back into that hip hinge, feel what that does. Just do it and feel it. See how that shifts your weight into your heel. And then come up. Okay? Squatting like that will protect your knees and make them very strong. And if you have arthritis, it'll minimize the grinding. If you squat with a quad dominant movement, your knees are going to traject over your toes like mine are right now. And this is going to put a lot of pressure on your little kneecaps. Okay? And you don't want that. That's why you want to send the booty backwards with that hip hinge and then sit into that squat. Trunk strong. Feel it in your hamstrings. Feel it in your glutes. Full extension. Because that's what the glutes do. Hip extension. Okay? So far, so good. Now, you can squat with weights. You can squat with bands. Or you can just squat with just your body weight. Okay? If I want to use my weights, I can carry them. Remember, that's one of our exercises that we're going to do, right? I can carry them, and I can squat with my weights. Now, if you're having a hard time squatting already, you don't need any extra weight or distraction. Just get the squat, okay? Here we go. So you squat down and up, just like that. Booty back and down and up. And you do that 15 times. Now, what if I have trouble with my hands and I don't have the grip strength to carry those heavy weights? Here's what you can do. You can rack them on your shoulders. So you bring your weights up, you rest them on your shoulders, point your elbows forward, so that way you keep your torso upright, and squat and up, and squat and up. Okay? So to review, wider apart is more stable. Hip hinge first. Remember to keep the knees over your shoelaces. Okay? Remember to keep your abdominals held in strong, firm, and fast, like somebody's going to hit you in the gut. That's called bracing. Super important. It'll turn on your back muscles too. Okay? So that's squat with your weights. You can also squat with your bands. So the band link that I sent you was for a long band, like these, a little over 4 feet. With a long band, you step in the center of your band. Here comes the hard part. You got to get that band up to your shoulders. Once you've got it up to your shoulders, you're in your ready position. You're standing tall. You want to brace your abdominals, hip hinge, and up. Hip hinge and up. So I push my chair backwards. Hip hinge and up. Okay? So there is your squat. So now let's talk about our press or our push. Number of ways we can do this. If we're talking body weight, we can simply do a push-up, right? There are tons of ways to do a push-up. You can do a push-up. Move my beautiful hydrangeas here. You can do a push-up on your kitchen counter. You can do a push-up on your mat on the floor. Camera adjustment, 1 moment. There we go. There we are. Okay. So, or you can do it on the floor. So counter, okay? You can do a push-up on a chair, as long as your chair is up against something solid. Push up on a chair. A little bit harder, because the more you take your body down closer to the ground, the tougher that push-up's going to be. That's just physics. Okay? Same thing with your push-ups on the floor. When you come into a quadruped position, hands and knees, you want to pitch your body forward so you're not resting directly on your kneecap. From here, you can lower yourself down into your push-up and push back up. And by the way, when I do my push-ups, I make sure my hands are wide apart. The trajectory of my elbows is not 90 degrees. It's 8 o'clock and 4 o'clock on the clock. Kind of like wings. So not way up here, down here, 8 and 4. Okay? Yep, 8 and 4, just like that. Wider hand position is gonna work the entire chest area. A narrow hand position is gonna work more in the back of your upper arms. They're a lot harder because these guys are a lot smaller than all of this, right? So just remember that, wider grip. So even for my short little pygmy arms, my hands are way out on the edge of my mat, all right? Standard push-up, you'd have to be able to nail a plank, and then you can do a push-up, okay? So there's your push-up. Now let's talk about the weights. What would be a pressing movement with the weight? Well, I suppose I could grab my weights and I could try to press them forward, but would that give me anything? Not really. No. Do you know why? I'm not in direct opposition to gravity. Gravity's pulling this way. So if I want to do an upright row, sure, but not if I'm trying to do a pushing movement, right, for my chest and my triceps. By the way, your pecs and your triceps are your pushers, your back and your biceps are your pullers, okay? So I have to directly be in opposition to gravity. I can use my floor or a bench, a weight bench. I lie down and keep my knees bent so that my lower back can maintain its normal lordotic curve. I make sure my chin is tipped for that very same reason. I want to protect the cervical curve. Arms are out at 8 and 4 o'clock. I simply straighten my arms against the pull of gravity and lower them back down. Now, I like doing push or bench presses or press pushes on a bench rather than the floor because you get a little bit more stretch through the chest area, which is super important for all the postural muscles, postural reasons that we spoke about prior, okay? So that would be a way to do a pushing exercise. What if I can't get down on the floor, and what if I'm not strong enough to do push-ups? Wow, here's where our bands come in super handy. Trading my weights from my band. This is so cool. Wrap your band around your midsection, right around the bra line. Now everything's the same. 8 and 4 o'clock, push all the way straight and back and push and back. Yeah, and just choke up enough so that you feel like you're going to fatigue in 15 reps. If you can only do 12, so much better. Okay? But remember, light enough so that you can do 12 to 15 reps. If you can do 12 to 15, you're going to be right around that 50% of your 1RM. Okay? That's why they say 12 to 15 reps. Beautiful. Perfect. You know what I like about you guys doing it? So your wrist is straight. Here's a couple things you don't want to do. Don't do this. I call this the kitty paw. Don't do this. This, oh my gosh, I can't even do it. Some people turn their, don't do that, and don't do that. You want your wrist straight. So you got to have a really strong grip, and it's like that kapow, was it Hawaiian punch, right? What gives Hawaiian punch the punch? That's what you want, the kapow. Okay? All right. Next on our list, I think, was what? The lunge? I think it was the lunge. Okay, now, remember from our balance training, the lunge is a tandem stance. So balance, it's a progressed balance stance. So you got to watch that. So when you do a lunge, especially when you first start lunging, you're going to need a chair because you need something, or a counter. You're going to need something for safety, okay? So I have my chair. I use it right on my mat here. I have my chair on my back side because I don't want it to impede your camera view. All right, so how do I want to do a lunge? First of all, lunge is our quad dominant movement, okay? So I know this already. That means knees, knee joint. I need to protect that knee joint, okay? So the first thing I'm thinking about doing is taking a giant step forward. I land on my heel, and then I settle the ball of my foot down, and then my toes. You can see that I've stepped so far forward that my back heel is off the ground. Guys, I'm already in that lunge position. Now I simply lower myself down to the ground. Notice my knee angles. See how broad they are here? They're not like this. This is not good. This is okay. Don't do this. Do this. Back knee comes close to the floor if you can, and then you rise back up. Now, for some of you, you won't need any weight to do this, and you won't need your bands. You can do this with weights. You can carry weights, or you can rack one weight on your shoulder and use a free hand for your chair just in case you need it, okay? But what I've just shown you is called a stationary lunge or a split lunge. Good. Just remember, giant step, just like the game we used to play as kids. Heel, ball, toe, lower the center of gravity down, controlling it with gravity, right? And then push it back up against the pull of gravity. Lower, controlling the deceleration, and up, all the way up, okay? There's your lunge. Now remember, with your lunge, you can carry your weight, or you can use your band underneath your feet, just like we did before. Okay? So far, we have a lunge, we have a push, and we have a squat. Squat, push, and lunge. Now we're going to talk about your pull. Okay? Super important, because everything we do in life, driving, eating, phone, pad, computer, is like this. Everything we do, guys, preparing meals, changing a baby, everything is like this. So guess what? We get stuck. This is like 24/7, right? So we need this. We need the row. Yeah, rowing is good for you. It's good for your posture. It engages your core. It's great stuff. We can row with our weights. We can row with our bands. Can't really row with our body weight unless we just use gravity, go into our hip hinge position and pull while squeezing the muscles. In other words, using your mind to tense your muscles and pull. That would be an unsupported bent over row, okay? But we can also do it with weights in a supported position so that we're not relying on these guys back here just to hold us up, okay? So supported position, a weight bench, a chair, a coffee table, whatever you've got. I'll use my chair. Again, that's why we wanted a sturdy chair. And you can take one weight, or I like to take two weights in one hand because first of all, it really works your forearms, helps with your grip strength, okay? So you can continue to open those jars. And it also gives me more weight to pull against, okay? It's really hard to work these upper back postural muscles without weights or band, okay? So I crisscross my weights, okay? Holding them in one hand. I kneel on my chair. I take my other hand and I put it down. So now you can see that my back is pretty much parallel with my floor. Once I'm parallel, I engage my core. I want to slightly depress my shoulder girdle. So I'm going to pull my shoulder girdle down, pull my abs up so I don't arch my back, right? Or my neck. And then I pull that way up right by my hip bone. And then I lower it down. Pull it up right by my hip bone. And when I do that, it causes my shoulder girdle to rotate in and up rather than out and down all the time. That's what I want to do. In and up with a shoulder girdle. And that's going to counteract this. Because, you know, this just doesn't even look good. Makes you look older, makes you look bigger. Just not a good look for anybody. The bent over row, I love it. I love it, love it, love it. It's supported. You can use heavy weight. You can use your band. Now, you got to be careful when you're rowing with your band because you got to stand on your band really firmly, okay? These with the handles are great because this handle is going to be the lock that locks this thing under my foot. So I put it right directly under my foot, okay? Now, I'm going to have to choke up because my back and my biceps are strong. Those are big muscles, okay? So I'm going to reach down. I'm going to choke up. I'm going to come into my row position. From here, step on that band hard because you don't want that thing kicking up at you. You could hurt. And then you pull that thing back toward your hips and then release. Think of it like a super hard to start skidoo or a super hard to start lawnmower. We remember those days, right? Talk about engineering. Engineering work out of our daily life. Now we just turn a key or push a button. Yeah, so you want to pull that thing up like it's the hardest start lawnmower that you ever worked in your life. You want to do both sides. Now, I can also row with both arms if I use my band. This is so cool. Now, the caveat with this exercise is that it's a little bit controversial because of the risk involved. You don't want this thing sliding off your feet because if it slides off your feet, it's going to whack you in the face or in the neck, and it's not going to look pretty, okay? So I don't want anybody to get messed up on my time. So you're going to wrap it around your feet, real firm like, right under the arch. And then you're going to sit high in the saddle. Then you're going to crisscross it. You crisscross it, and that's going to lock it onto your feet. Now imagine I'm riding a racehorse. I'm sitting really high in the saddle because, you know, I'm one of those English riders, okay? And now I'm going to pull that band back. And now I'm going to control the recoil. Pull the band back, control the recoil. So I basically pull my hands back by my waistline, a little bit above. While I do that, guys, it's going to squeeze all these muscles back here, all these guys back here that help set that shoulder girdle, right? So that shoulder girdle is rotating in and up, okay? Again, helping us to counteract this, okay? For every pushing movement you do, you want to do 2 pulling movements, right? Because we already know we're already short and tight in this region anyway. So we want to open this up. We want to counter that. Okay? Now, another great pulling exercise for your postural muscles is called the reverse fly. This can be done with weights. My favorite is with the bands, but it can easily be done with weights on a weight bench or on a half kneeling position. You grab your band about shoulder width apart and just a little bit underneath your shoulder level. So not up here, right? Down here. So there's no pinching in that shoulder joint. Down here. Then what you're going to do, I'm going to turn around backwards. You're going to pack your shoulder blades. So imagine my shoulder blades are like bookends. And I rest my bookends on the shelf of my rib cage. Okay? So you put your bookends on your rib cage. Okay? Grab your band, choke up a little bit. Now pull the band apart, keeping your wrist straight and your elbows straight. Watch what that does to my upper back muscles. So I pull that apart, and hopefully you can see my t-shirt creasing back there as all those postural muscles between my shoulder blades help to rotate those shoulder blades in and up. That's called a reverse fly or a band pull apart. Again, important that the wrist is straight and the elbow stays pretty straight. Okay? Because otherwise it's going to be a row, not a bad exercise, just a different one. This reverse fly, though, isolates the muscles right in between your shoulder blades. Excellent, excellent postural exercise. Okay? Next, we have our hinge. Whoops, I got a hand. Oh, was that me? I guess that's me. That's weird. Okay. Did somebody have their hand up? Looks like you're done talking, so we'll oh, okay. I don't know what that was about. Okay. Next is our hinge, our hip hinge. Hip hinge can be done body weight, weights, or with your bands. So for example, if I want a hip hinge, remember the beginning of our squat. The beginning of our squat started with a hip hinge, all right? Think of those bobbing wooden ducks that used to be in your parents' or grandparents' car. That's all I can think of, those little wooden ducky things. So you want a hip hinge like that wooden duck. The buttocks go back, the knees stay slightly straight. You come down to the point where you feel those hamstrings stretch, and then you simply stand back up. That's called a good morning or a hip hinge. When you do it, you want to make sure that you don't hike your shoulders up, okay? So we want a stable scapula. So you set the scapula on the shelf of the rib cage. If you want, you can keep your arms by your side or even flip your palms backwards. This will open up, okay, help you open up here as you come forward. Okay? And then up. Good. Pull your stomach muscles in like somebody's going to come up through the floor. The devil's going to come up through the floor with a punching bag. You're a punching bag. You're not going to let him punch you, okay? So you hinge. Perfect. Knees slightly bent. You want to go low enough that you feel that stretch in the hamstrings, and then you come back up using that elastic energy that you just stored to help pull you back up. Now with weights, so simple. Just grab your weights. You can do it from the top down like you're lifting your grandchild, okay, or your dog or your cat. Or you can, from the bottom up like you're lifting your grandchild up off the floor, your dog, your cat, or from the top down like you're setting your grandchild or your dog or your cat down on the floor. So you got your weights right in front of you. You put them right on your body. You don't let them go out away from your body. That's a shoulder raise. We're not doing that. Okay, we're doing a deadlift, a hip hinge. So you project the buttocks backwards. You keep the knees slightly soft. The weights go down until your back is parallel to the mat or the floor, and then you squeeze back up. And here is your hip hinge. Weight's heavy enough that you can only do 15. So chances are you're going to need a little heavier weight. That's why I said get the 8s, get the 10s, get the 15s. Or the 12s, okay, because you're going to need the extra weight. You can also use your bands. Again, these with the handles on them, the handles are going to act as your stops or your locks under your feet, all right? The setup for this is a little bit more complicated, but not too bad. So I'm going to do a frontal. I'm going to put that band under one foot, locking it on the outside of my foot with the little plastic handle holder. I make sure it's right under the arch of my foot. All my metatarsals are down. My heel is down. Watch what I do. Loop your band. Loop your band. Walk your fingers down and choke up. Arms are straight. Keep your band, your arms right on you. Arms are straight. and come all the way up. And then back down. If you need a little bit of just loosen it up a little bit. And that's how wonderfully your band can accommodate you. If you can't get up because it's too hard, simply loosen up a little bit, regrip, and come up. So from the side, it looks just like this. Got my loop, got my grip, I'm in my hip hinge position, and up I go, all the way up. All the work that's being done is done right here, right where your booty meets your thigh. That's what your glutes do. They extend you at the hip extension. Okay? Anytime you work the glutes, you work the back, the lower back in particular, just so that you know that. So always be careful, really engage your core, use your bracing muscles the way God intended or the way whatever you believe intended. And you will make your back so strong doing these wonderful hip hinge exercises, okay? And just remember, this is like picking up a kid or a dog or your groceries off the floor or anything you bend down to pick up. That's your hip hinge. Bang. Your squat is getting up out of a chair, getting off the toilet. Your lunge is you're down and you got to get up off the floor. And you got to do it without your hands because you got something in your hands. Maybe you got your bawling grandkid in your hands. They just bumped themselves or something. And you got to pick them up and get up. See? These things translate into everything you do in your life. Pushing a heavy door open. Pulling a heavy door closed. Right? Those big institutional doors or whatever. Okay? And then your carry. Your carry is just that, guys. Lift something heavy and lug it around. You should be able to do at least 20 pounds. 20 pounds in each hand. Average grocery bags 10 to 15. So you want to be, the more you can carry, the better. And that way you can keep opening your own jars, folks. Okay? Rotation exercise. When I did my bent over row, did you notice the slight rotation? Coming right here from here in the thorax, not from here in the lumbar spine. Coming right from the thoracic rotation. One of the bad things about our habitual postures is that we lose the ability to mobilize through the thorax. It gets kind of seized up. So the rotation exercises help with that. Your anti-rotation exercises, guys, those are your stabilizing exercises. Your planks, for example, okay? Or a pal-off press, if you can wrap your band around something and pull it and then resist it as you push it out and pull it in. That would be an anti-rotation exercise where you've got somebody pulling it over here and you're trying to push it out against them pulling it over there. You can't let your arms go sideways because that would be rotating. So you anti-rotate. Your plank is the same thing. You can do a high plank or a low plank if your wrists bother you. If your wrists bother you, go do a full forearm plank. If your wrists don't bother you, come up and do a high plank. If you can go from a low plank to a high plank, that's a great thing, okay? That would be a wonderful performance goal for you to work on. Those are all your lifts. I think that's all of them. Any questions so far? I'm going to go back to my screen share. All right. I love this one. So we want all the things that everything I just showed you can give you. The ability to be strong, the ability to be mobile, the ability of our nervous system to be efficient and effective so that we can move quick, stop our own falls, break our own falls, etc., without breaking, right? So you're going to have to be willing to commit to the time. Now, everybody's life gets in the way, guys. Everybody's life gets in the way. My life gets in my way. That's why we have priorities. If you don't prioritize yourself now, what about your future? You're here. Remember your why. Remember why you're here. Don't just watch this, do it here, and then let it go. Start doing it. Even if it's 1 day a week, if you haven't done anything, just start doing it. Because, you know, what fits your busy schedule better? Exercising an hour a day, or an hour a week, or being dead 24 hours, right? Or being in a nursing home wheelchair, right? This is what we want to avoid. This is what I want to help you avoid. This is why we're here. This is why I keep going back to that mission. All right, and here's this guy, the grandfather of weight training, Jack LaLanne, God bless him, he's dead now. He said, don't just add years to your life, add life to your years. Again, that's why we're here. It's all about the quality, right? The quality. What we want, what we want, what we want. If we want it, we got to go after it. You got to get after it. You're going to have to get after yourself. You're going to have to prioritize. You're going to have to put yourself first. That's hard to do. Hard to do for a mom and a wife and an employee or an employer or whatever. Yeah. We wear a lot of hats, but at some point, if you don't put yourself first, you're going to lose out. You're going to miss out. And I don't want that for you. So, stronger is better. And besides, it's always nice when you can open your own jars and get your own doors. Lift your own furniture, move your own furniture, do your own stuff. I'm like, honey, can you help me? Ugh. I'm like, no, I got this. I'm awful like that. So I hope you guys are too. Push yourselves a little bit because that's how you get stronger, okay? Not too much. And you got to know when to relax and recover and rest and rejuvenate, right? Because in theory and in physiology, what happens is every time you do strength training and you overload your system, you have some kind of breakdown in the body. And it's in the rebuilding that we grow, the building, growth, and repair, the repair part. Yeah, go ahead and unmute. Ask any questions, guys. We ran over, like always. Sorry. I try so hard.
Fran, are we going to have to do all of them?
I would, yeah, all 7 moves. Yes. Yep, all 7 moves. Yeah. So just remember your carry, your hang on
Can
a
you
second.
do it? Can you send a printout maybe of?
This is going to be, remember the recording's in the group, guys. The recording, so all this stuff's going to be in the group and you're going to have this slide. Where is it? Right. Ta-da. Sorry, slow catching up here. For some reason it doesn't, there we go. Okay, there you go. 7 movements. If you think about your squat and your carry or your lunge and your carry as one. And if you think of your rotation and your row or your pull as another, there you go. You've already made this a lot more efficient.
Okay.
So basically a plank, a deadlift, a row, a lunge, a push-up or a chest press, and a squat. There you go. We're down to 6. I just saved you time. I'm all about efficiency.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. So this is going to be in the group. Remember that. So you can do a screenshot of that. You've got the recording. You can watch the recording where I'm leading you through these movements, right? And you can stop it. You can stop it, do 15 squats, then move on to the next one. There's a reason why I did lower body, upper body, lower body, upper body, lower body, and core. And the reason for that is so that you could do them back to back. So the lower body's resting while you're working your upper body. The upper body's resting while you're working your lower body. Okay. And then probably do your core in the end, because you're going to need your core for your squats, your hinges, your deadlifts, and your lunges. Okay. Your core is super active for all that, and for your pulling and your pushing.
And
Okay.
2 or 3 times a week, Fran,
I would start, if you can start with one day,
and do them all.
15 reps. Yep. You can do
Yep.
them back to back, circuit style, or you can do one set of squats, rest a minute or 2 minutes,
Okay.
and then do a set of lunges, But that's why I did lower body, upper body, so that you could go, because you're getting the rest while you're working the other body part. Does that
Yeah.
make sense? Okay.
Yeah.
Kind of like a split routine. A split routine, guys, is when you're an advanced exerciser, you're working back-to-back days, and then you're going to do a split. You might do pulling and legs on one day, and you might do pushing and core 48 hours later on the second day.
Okay. Okay.
That's a
Okay.
split routine. You're
Okay.
not doing it all, but you're probably doing more sets and more exercises for the one body part. I'm just got you doing 2. Remember, I said 2 pulls.
Yep.
2 pulls for every push, for every press. Okay. And that's for
Yeah.
postural reasons, just so you don't, you know what I mean? I hate catching myself doing that. I do it all. I catch myself all the time. So yeah, stand up, use your core, use your abs, burn those calories with that. Remember, it was 4 to 5 times the calorie burn standing. Wasn't that in the last? Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, thank you guys so much. Any questions, throw them in the group, throw them in the chat, do your homework. And I've got resources in there already. I've got a log in there. I've got why women need weight training that I shared with you. There's your resistance training log.
Okay.
What you monitor matters. This will help
Okay.
keep you honest. Yeah. You could even write it on a calendar, right?
Sure. Yeah. Okay.
Good. Thank you, Fran.
My
Thank
pleasure.
you.
My pleasure.
Good.
Thank you guys so much. Week 5 next week, the brain on exercise.
Oh, okay.
We're going to have fun.
Thanks, Fran.
Thank you, Fran.
Thank you,
Bye.
Fran.
Thank you
Thanks.
very much.
Thank you.
Have a good day.
Bye.
Bye.
Guys are awesome.